People often think of being well-read as meaning widely read, but not enough is said about being deeply read, about what it means to sit with one writer long enough to hear the changes in their voice as they grow older, to learn what dreams and ideals they held and which ones they abandoned, or to notice how early hopes still echo in later doubts. And when you really study one poet, especially a poet who had a long career in poetry like Eliot or Wordsworth or Shakespeare or Donne, you get a sense of how their poetry moves along the contours of their developing experiences. You begin to notice the changes of their poetry and the changes of their minds. And you can hear the notes that never change. You can feel the bass rhythms and the melodies that remain constant throughout a life beset by many changes. And that's why, for the first time on Versed, my online school and community for readers, we are going to be reading all of the lyric poetry of William Butler Yeats. This is a course for readers and poets. On Versed Community, there is an active community of poets who are learning from each other and the greatest poets of the past. And Yeats is a poet of development. His was a mind always in motion, ever in process, and his career spanned from the late Victorian period into the modernist era. You can see his style changing according to that, and he's actually contributing to that change as well. So this course follows the development of Yeats as a lyric poet. Across 5 weeks, we're going to study his entire collection of lyric poetry, all the collections that he published in his life, from the poems he wrote as a young man to the poems he wrote just before his death. And while there is value to reading isolated lyric poems in an anthology, there's even greater value in studying lyric poems within the collections in which they were published and in the order in which they were published. So the students who take this course will learn to read lyric poems as parts of a larger whole, the same way a room in an art museum is carefully curated to tell a larger story, or the same way that heavenly bodies are points of light within a larger constellation. What you learn from studying the lyric poetry of Yeats will prepare you to undertake a full study of any poet's work. We will meet twice a week for a lecture in which I'll introduce the poems and highlight the major themes and developments, and we'll also meet for discussion, in which we'll meet for 90 minutes for a seminar-styled discussion on the collection each week as well. So there's 2 meetings a week, and these Zoom meetings are come and go at will. You're welcome to participate or just to sit back and listen to the conversation. We're not snobbish. We don't like snobbery. We're all very intellectually curious, and we want to hear what others have to say about what we're reading. And the atmosphere has, I think, all the rigor of a university classroom and all the informal charm of a fireside chat. Students who take this course will gain 2 important skills. The first is how to read a collection of poetry as a whole. That is, how to see how the poems within the collections are speaking to one another. And secondly, how to trace that development across the long arc of a poet's career, to see how the collections of poetry themselves are speaking to one another. We are using the collected poems of Yeats edited by Richard Finneran, and this is the 2nd edition revised, which contains other collections of poetry. I think to read a poet like this from cover to cover, book to book, is to encounter a human being in motion. The poems begin to speak to one another across the years. You'll see patterns emerge. Revisions take on emotional weight, and you'll begin to hear the full voice, not just the most quotable lines of a poem. And also, you'll be reading poems that often don't get a lot of attention and should, the ones that are less frequently anthologized. So let me give you a brief example of what you'll see, just a snippet here. Here's a poem from his early works. This is from his edition, his collection of poetry, Crossways, which contains his earliest poems written when he was in his early 20s. Where dips the rocky highland of Sleuth Wood in the lake? There lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake the drowsy water rats. There we've hid our fairy vats full of berries and of reddest stolen cherries. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. in the context of his other earlier works, this moment in the collection is the 10th poem. You can see this as a moment when Yeats is turning from his earlier experiments. He was really trying out the Arcadian style, the pastoral style, some Indian themes. But here he's turning to his native Irish landscape, and it's one of, this sets him on a trajectory that will last his whole life, really. It's one of his early treatments of escapism and the seductive pull of the other world. And here, that other world is represented as the Irish other world. It's a romanticized yearning to escape a world weeping and a world of sorrow. It's a vision inspired by Celtic myth and lore, and its form is grounded in pre-Raphaelite aestheticism, which is a very late Victorian idea. And so you can see how he's kind of indebted to that movement. But then if you turn to one of his later poems, Sailing to Byzantium, which was published when he was 63, let me read you the first two stanzas of that poem and see if you can't hear an echo of what we heard in the early Yeats. That is no country for old men. The young in one another's arms, birds in the trees, those dying generations. At their song, the salmon falls, the mackerel crowded seas. Fish, flesh, or fowl commend all summer long whatever is begotten, born, and dies. Caught in that sensual music all neglect, monuments of an aging intellect. An aged man is but a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, unless soul clap its hands and sing, and louder sing, for every tatter in its mortal dress. Nor is there singing school but studying monuments of its own magnificence. And therefore I have sailed the seas and come to the holy city of Byzantium. In the first poem we saw the fairy otherworld was calling the child, tempting him with an escape from sorrow. Here, the city of Byzantium is tempting the older man and revealing a desire to transcend the world of woe. Again, so that's where the poems are overlapping. They're sharing that main theme. But we have Yeats's mature voice revisiting this lifelong theme through a different spiritual and philosophical lens. He's trying it out in a different way. Instead of the pastoral world, the civilization of art calls him. Byzantium was a symbol of eternal art and spiritual permanence, a crafted, conscious alternative to the decaying world of sensual and chaotic youth. And it's a statement, I think, of artistic defiance, a metaphysical aspiration formed under the pressures of aging and modern disillusionment. I should be careful with that word, metaphysical, because Yeats is not really a metaphysical poet. And he's not like Donne. But it's this longing for this different place that transcends. And it's one that reveals the consciousness of the poet's own sense of calling as a poet. We have that in this later poem that we don't have in the earlier poem. And that's something that changes too. So understanding this development and modeling this for other poets is one thing that this course is going to offer. Reading every poem a poet wrote, rather than, say, anthology selections, will allow you to see the risks, the false starts, the pivots in voice and form, the revisions of opinion, and the thematic obsessions that return in altered shapes. He's constantly working them over, and I think he models that beautifully for poets as a way to show how the process of development can be poeticized itself. He put that development on display. It was part of how he curated his self, his public image as a poet. So I hope you'll join us on Versed. You can check out the link below if you want to sign up, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for watching, and until next time.